Let's face it, dealing with routers sucks. The one your internet provider gives you definitely sucks, and the rest, it's like courting a partner for marriage. Ultimately, all we want are really fast speeds and lots of coverage, and that brings me here today to the Netgear Orbi. This hefty €450 device for a 2-pack was installed in our home last year. So how did we get on? Well, in this video, you're going to find out. The Netgear Orbi is what we call a mesh Wi-Fi system, which is a really fancy way of saying that by placing these satellite routers around your house, they'll boost and repeat the signal from the main router. And in this case, the package we bought came with this satellite router that also happens to be a Harman Kardon speaker with Amazon Alexa built in. So for that particular reason, this was actually a great fit for our kitchen. We upgraded our router because our home wiring system has also been upgraded. You see, we now have fiber to the home gigabit internet speeds. So we needed a new Wi-Fi system that was going to be up to the challenge of that. Now, the router that Vodafone Ireland supplied us had the coverage issues, and my old Apple Airport Extreme, which I was using a lot for the past few years, that had speed issues because now we're on faster internet connection. So that's the thing. Years ago, we'd get by fine with just one of these regular routers, maybe even the router your internet company would give to you. But now, because speeds have gotten so much faster, the actual bottleneck has become our home Wi-Fi networks. And that is why mesh Wi-Fi systems like the Orbi have gotten so popular in recent years. Now, this review won't have comparisons. In the past year that I've been using the Orbi, Amazon's Eero is now being sold in the UK and Ireland, and that's a competitor product. And many networking reviewers would say that it is the superior product to the Orbi. Now, I haven't personally tested that, but it is something to consider. Another thing to consider is that Orbi hasn't been staying still. They also released a new version of their networking, so they have an even faster and more expensive version with Wi-Fi 6 built in. This will give you faster speeds even than the router that I'm using currently. However, it's very expensive, and not a lot of devices have Wi-Fi 6. So the latest Apple iPhones, for example, would have Wi-Fi 6, but Apple's MacBooks wouldn't have the system. So while it could be a great investment, as more devices do support Wi-Fi 6, I would also suspect a lot of Wi-Fi 6 routers will drop in price, because now it's an emerging technology. But once it becomes the standard, there's going to be a lot more supply, it's going to be more competitive, Wi-Fi 6 routers will drop in price. So if you don't need Wi-Fi 6 speeds now, I would not recommend buying a Wi-Fi 6 router. So let me tell you what you wanted to hear. Yes, the Netgear Orbi worked as intended, and around our house we're consistently getting about 200 megabytes of Wi-Fi speed. And if you're in striking distance of the main router, you can get about 500 megabytes. And of course, if you hook up with a wire, you'll get full speeds. I hope you'd get full speeds on anything, but with a wire. You know, that's obviously a far and beyond upgrade above the 7 megabytes we were originally getting in the kitchen with the supplied router from Vodafone Ireland. But warning, the Orbi is not for the beginning networking user or someone who doesn't know their way around computers. The big issue I had with the Netgear Orbi, and it could be a breaking point for many of you, is that I had a really hard time deciding whether my devices should connect to it on a 2.4 GHz radio or a 5 GHz radio. Essentially, you want to be on a 5 GHz radio, it's much faster speeds. It got so bad that it basically turned me into a hacker, where I had to go into the Netgear forum and I found out I had to telnet into my Orbi device and separate the radios that way. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. Now, if all your devices are 5 GHz compatible, you can disable the 2.4 radio on the Orbi user interface. However, being realistic, there's probably 1 or 2 devices around your home that are still on a 2.4 GHz radio. And for us, that of course was the printer. It's been pretty lousy that over the past year, Netgear hasn't been able to fix these issues with firmware updates. It's still persistent, so I still recommend you do it. And on that note, it's also pretty annoying that because they know it's an issue, they just don't build this into their user interface system, their control panel. Like, there's no button that would allow you to separate the radio signals. Instead, you still have to hack into the Orbi using Telnet. And again, for something so expensive, that should be something that's an option. You shouldn't have to hack into your Orbi to do that. But beyond that, the Orbi did work great. It worked as it's intended. It was just a lot more setup than I hoped for, particularly at that price point. Now, as for the satellite router itself, it's great. It does a great job of boosting the signal around the house. You know, it's great for playing radio and music, but the novelty of having Alexa built in does wear off over time unless you actually have a proper use for it. But the sound from it is absolutely fantastic for, again, things like the radio and the music playing, which, I mean, is probably what you're going to use it for anyway. While ultimately there is no clear winner when it comes to mesh Wi-Fi networking, there certainly is one loser: your wallet. Again, this damn thing was €450 and I still had radio issue problems with it, which just goes to show in 2020 it doesn't matter how much money you throw at them, you're still going to have issues with internet routers. However, if you do spend the money, you will be rewarded with the fastest speeds possible. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if it helped you make a buying decision about mesh Wi-Fi networking, do leave a comment below, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.